Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Eating Good in the Woods, How to Travel to Scotland Affordably. This is part number 3 and we are going to cover accommodations. I have 5 different types of accommodations and I'm going to rank them from the worst to the best. And bear in mind, this is my opinion only. I'm not a tour guide, I'm not selling anything. I'm just a fat old man that's been to Scotland a bunch of times, and I'm going to impart some of the knowledge that I've gathered over the years unto you. So stick around, I'm going to show you how. Okay, starting off with number 5, hostels. For those of you that don't know what hostels are, well, let's just say it's very, very cheap accommodations. It can be sometimes $15-20 a night, but you may be staying in a room with 6 or 8 other people sharing a bathroom down at the end of the hall. Not exactly my idea of a nice vacation. But if that's what you're up for, by all means. I will link some hostels in Scotland, and just up here, I've posted a picture so you can kind of see what a typical hostel is. Moving on to number 4, house swaps. Now there is a number of websites where you can register, and I believe you pay a yearly fee to belong to a house swap website. And essentially what that means is you would get with somebody in Scotland who wants to come spend a week or 10 days or what have you in your neck of the woods, and you would trade your house for a week with them for their house for a week. How much these websites cost to belong, I have no idea. How available are they? Again, this doesn't interest me in the least, so I have no idea how much this kind of thing costs or does. But you might want to look into the liability. If they break something in your house, or if something turns up missing, or the same for their house, what is your liability? I would be a little cautious of that. Although it sounds wonderful, I would be a little cautious of that because the liability could be great. Number 3, and I'm putting this one in the middle for a number of reasons. Okay, some of you may know I spent a good bit of my life touring with a Celtic rock band. I've had my share of hotels. It was exciting at first. Now I could care less if I ever see the inside of one again. They do serve a purpose, however, in Scotland. And you can get, like at Premier Inn, you can get a room for £35-40 a night. Or you can go to like the Tontine in Greenock, which is a beautiful hotel, but you're talking $200 to $300 a night. But it's just not my style of vacation. Which brings me to number 2, which, just to be frank, is the creme de la creme of accommodations. Bed and breakfast. They're fantastic. Let me say they can be fantastic. I stayed in one in London. Wouldn't go back. I stayed in one in Hamilton, Scotland, just outside of Glasgow. That we loved. 4-poster bed, nice coffee pot, teapot, had a sundry of biscuits and snacks and stuff like that. Had our own private bathroom. But when you're looking at B&B, you need to look for en suite. And what that means is with a bathroom. One drawback with B&B. One of the B's stands for breakfast. And listen, I have stayed in some ones that they put out a lavish, beautiful, tasty breakfast. I've had haggis, I've had blood pudding, I've had all that stuff. Problem is, do you really want to spend what precious little vacation time you get in the B&B eating breakfast? Especially when you could just grab something quick and head out and start touring. A lot of times B&Bs will say our breakfast hours are from 6:30 to 8:30. If you don't eat breakfast, you just miss out. I'm just going to say you want to experience a full Scottish breakfast at least once while you're there. But you don't want to spend all your time in restaurants. You've got mountains and castles and waterfalls and scenic drives and all that stuff to see. Don't spend your time in a restaurant. unless you're a foodie or you're a gourmet chef, something that variety, you're going to go to those kind of places, and I get that. Go see what you came to see. And now we get to number one, in my opinion, and please bear in mind, my opinion. Number one is what they call over there self-catering cottages, and I'll post some pictures here of some of the places we've stayed, and I'll put the website down in the description so you can check them out for yourself. A self-catering cottage is basically like somewhere someone has converted a barn or some accommodation that was used for something else. Like there's a place we stayed called the Gardener's Cottage, which was at one time where the gardeners lived on this castle estate. Beautiful accommodations. You can get one of those places that will, getting back to the whole travel with some friends, you can sometimes get a 2 and 3 bedroom self-catering cottage, depending on time of year, anywhere from $800 to $1,200 for the week. But if you go with friends, you're splitting that in half. But let me tell you what comes along with that. Laundry facilities and kitchens. Scotland is a culinary delight. I'm not going to lie to you. If you go to Scotland and don't have a fish and chips, it's absolutely delicious. The second most popular takeout in Scotland is Indian food. And man, we always make a point of having at least one Indian dinner while we're there because it is absolutely delicious. Your room, you've got a kitchen, you've got a refrigerator, you've got a little stovetop. Nobody's going to go cook a meal while on vacation, and I get that. You can go to the grocery store, and we usually make this our first stop when we get to our accommodations. We'll go to a grocery store. We'll pick up some things like some crumpets, a loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, some jam, some snack stuff, like chips and some tonics or stuff like that. Stuff to keep around there. But the important thing is, when we get up in the morning, we have our showers, we get dressed, we're ready for a day of adventure. I'm not going to sit down and have a lengthy breakfast. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a granola bar. I'm going to make myself a couple pieces of toast. I'm going to make myself a peanut butter sandwich, whatever, and I'm going to eat it while I'm on my way to the first attraction. Those places also have teapots and coffee pots, which that brings me to another thing. Their coffee is lousy. Bring some coffee from home if you want a good cup of coffee. Man, do they do tea right. Make yourself a to-go cup of coffee to take on the road with you. When you go to the grocery store, see if you can find a cheap insulated mug just for traveling around. But save your time that you would ordinarily spend in a restaurant or what have you. Grab something quick and get on the road. It's wonderful. It's a great way to save money too, because certainly grocery store prices over there are really good. And restaurants can be a little on the costly side. And again, don't you want to come home with a bunch of memories instead of in sweaters? Or would you rather come home with a wallet full of receipts? We generally save our nice meal for the evening. We'll either go to a pub or we'll get a nice takeaway and go back to our self-catering cottage, that sort of thing. During the day, we try to find someplace. There's a chain of bakeries there called Greg's. And Greg's specializes in brieties, sausage rolls, meat pies, that sort of thing. So we try to use Greg's because it's simple, in and out. You got a handful of stuff and you keep going. Or most of the convenience stores, stick with me on this, most of the convenience stores over there have this thing they call the meal deal, which would be a sandwich of your choice, a bag of crisps, and a bottle of something to drink. I'm not talking pimento salad sandwiches like you would get at our convenience store. I'm talking about tuna with sweet corn, all day breakfast, plowman's lunch on bread, on chunky grainy bread. Man, God, they're delicious. You get roasted chicken with bacon. We're talking really, really good sandwiches, and they're cheap. You stop at one of those places, grab you a meal deal, eating it on the way to your next location. Well, that's going to be about it for this episode of Eating Good in the Woods, How to Travel to Scotland Affordably. Next week will be on driving, and I have a special guest, my buddy John from Scotland, that's going to help us learn how to navigate the roundabouts. Thank you for tuning into this. I sure love y'all. Go out there and be nice to each other. God bless you. and maybe we'll see you in Scotland.